The idea I'm talking about is state management. If you're in a crappy, low, unmotivated state, let's just imagine for a moment what kind of results that might get you. It's going to serve you a lot better being in the best state that you can be in. It makes absolutely perfect sense. Hey there, how's it going? This is James Tripp with a video for James Tripp Chaos Wave. We are looking at attitude management versus state control. So if you're already subscribed to this channel, you know the tagline is using your mind to shape your life. The interest here, what we're exploring, is mind tech, whether that's hypnosis, whether that's NLP, some other pragmatic psychology system. What we're interested in is stuff that works. How can you shift what you're doing up here so that you express yourself differently into the world and start creating more of the results that you want? Now, for myself, I've been exploring various technologies, human technologies like this, since I was 19 years old. I'm 45 now. Explored a lot of stuff, and some of it has made real profound differences. In particular, I owe a massive debt to NLP, to neuro-linguistic programming. I spent a number of years really immersing myself in this, and so much that I got from NLP is now embodied for me. It exists within me, and I just come from this NLP shaped place without even thinking about it. I am no longer an NLP trainer. I do not run NLP trainings. I have my friend James Sakalos coming over to run a fantastic NLP training, which I'll put a link to around, but that's not what this video is about. It's about a particular idea from NLP, which I think works, but only up to a point, and I think there is a way better choice. The idea I'm talking about is state management, and the theory is good, it's sound. It simply says that the state that you are in is going to make a difference to how you communicate, how you show up, what you create in the world. State is really key, and this I completely align with. If you're in a crappy, low, unmotivated state, well, let's just imagine for a moment what kind of results that might get you as you meet other people and engage with the world, as you think about creating what you want to create. It's not really going to serve you being in that kind of what I often call low vibration state. It's going to serve you a lot better to be showing up at your best all the time, showing up at your zippiest, your wittiest, your sharpest, your funniest, being in the best state that you can be in to engage with the situation that you want to create with. It makes absolutely perfect sense. So, if we can control our state, if we can find out how to absolutely control that has got to serve us, hasn't it? Well, yeah, it would. And NLP has some ideas for doing that. So one of the classic ideas is anchoring. You anchor a resource state that you need that's going to fit and serve well in a particular context. And when you get into that state, you fire the anchor, and the theory is the state that you want to be in comes up. Now, there might be other ways of managing state or controlling state. State control is the term that is often used, which I think is a terribly misleading term, not useful at all. There may be other ways to it, but anchoring is the classic one. So great stuff, hey? Well, yeah, except that it doesn't entirely work like that. First of all, I think state control is a huge exaggeration. State influence, now we're getting somewhere, but precision controlling your state, well, that's something else. Because even if you're working with anchors, so the idea with an anchor, if people don't know, if you're not NLP trained, is you evoke a state within your system, then you connect it to something. It could be a word you say in your head, an image you make in your mind. It could be a physical gesture like pulling your earlobe or something like that. And the idea is to create an association, much like with Pavlov's dogs. Pavlov's dogs would hear the bell ring, they'd associate that with food coming, they'd start to salivate. If you can create an anchored association with a high quality state, a resource state, you can fire that off somehow, tweaking the fingers, whatever it might be, then ideally it should fire up. Now, here's the problem with this. Every time we fire up a state, it doesn't necessarily replace the state that we are in. It collapses into the state that we are in, modifying it. So for a start, we're not controlling it by putting a new state in place. We're just simply diluting the state that we're currently in, which is a useful thing to do. Because if we're in a really crappy low state, if we can bring a little bit more of a high vibration kind of a state into the mix, that's an improvement, isn't it? So it's a good thing to do. So it's a win in that respect. But here's the other problem. Every time you fire off the anchor and it collapses into the old state, you're diluting that anchor. So you have to do a lot of maintenance to keep those anchors sharp and all of this kind of thing. And the problem is, by doing the same stuff over and over again to keep the anchors sharp, the way the human mind works is we get bored with doing the same stuff over and over again. So we don't do it so full out, and we don't do it with such high quality. So controlling state by any means, you don't get to control state because the system is too complex for control, right? We need to nudge. We have power with influence, but we cannot absolutely control. There's a problem with the control element. The second problem is the anchoring technology. It turns out not to necessarily be quite as pragmatic as it might be. In my experience, I don't doubt that somebody's going to pop up in the comments and say, James, you must be just crap at doing this. Whatever. I can only speak from my experience. So if you are going to abandon state control or even state management, state influence, which actually I haven't, I still might use direct techniques to shift my state, but when they're not shifting as I want, I move to a different position, and that is attitude management. For me, attitude management is infinitely more applicable, pragmatic, effective than state management, and it usually leads to a secondary shift in state which is supportive of where I want to be within myself anyway. So what's the difference between attitude and state? Well, state is the condition that you are in. Attitude, if you like, is how you choose to meet something, or how you meet something. A lot of the time, people's attitude is unconscious. Make it conscious. Choose how you are going to meet what comes up for you in life. That means choose how you are going to meet what comes up from the world, but how you are going to meet what comes up from yourself as well. So if a low state comes up within me, my state management choice is to try and fight that, struggle against that, replace that, push that away, do something like that. It's to push directly against the state or to try and modify the state directly. But if instead I choose how I meet that state and how I create with that state, then I'm in the place of attitude. So if I have a low state come up, I can say to myself, so I'm not feeling my best right now. How am I going to meet this? And I can choose and say, well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to have this conversation anyway. And it will go as it does. There's no rule in the universe that says it has to go any particular way. Or I could have a state come up and I could say, I wonder what it is that this is trying to teach me right now. Or something like that. I can make a choice about how I meet the state. Now, when you make a choice in how you meet the state, something interesting happens. It shifts you from a position of victimhood to the state, being at effect with the state. Even if you were trying to struggle against it, the idea is still it's a thing that you have to fight against, you have to move, you have to do something with, to being in a position where you just own it. It's a pure position of ownership. You own your choices, you own your response, you own your reaction. So I have another model that I use, and I sometimes teach people, sometimes when I'm coaching people one-on-one in developing their own mind tech. There's an idea I use which is circumstances versus choice. Now in this model, circumstances versus choice, anything that you cannot immediately change by clicking your fingers or shifting a thought, anything that you cannot immediately move or change in your environment or in yourself is counted as circumstances. So if I have a dirty coffee cup, if I can't click my fingers and make that coffee cup clean, well, then part of my current circumstances is dirty coffee cup. Of course, I can change my circumstances because where do I have choice? Well, I have the choice to pick up the coffee cup and go and wash it, right? So that's where I have choice. If I have a state come up, like a low state, maybe a state where I'm feeling insecure or something like that, If I can just shift by pulling an anchor or something like that into exactly the state that I need to be in, I wouldn't consider that circumstances anymore because I'm at the place of choice. I can fire the anchor, there's my choice. If I cannot move that immediately, what I do and what I advocate people do is you accept it as circumstances. You accept it as circumstances. You stop trying to change it. Now people might say, but then it's going to dominate. No, not at all. When you stop trying to change it, you move to a position of power because you get to acknowledge it and leave it as it is and then move creatively with it or even create with it. So if I'm feeling like, I don't know, let's say insecure, I might go, well, I'm not feeling entirely at my best right now. So if this is my circumstance, whereabouts is my choice? Now, when I ask myself that question, if this is circumstance, whereabouts is choice? Because there's always choice. Whatever the circumstances, there is always at least one choice point. There's actually a myriad of choice points. So I'm not feeling my best right now. So if this is circumstances, whereabouts is choice? Yeah, well, I get to choose to go do the thing I'm going to do anyway, right? I get the choice to make a different meaning around it. Say, well, what could this mean? And by the way, I'm not looking for the truth. I'm going, well, this means I'm a human being. So I'm a human being like everybody else. Whereabouts could being a human being be useful in this situation? I get to move with and create with the raw materials of circumstances by moving to a position of choice. This is attitude. And when you shift your attitude, invariably your state shifts as well. Okay, so as always, if you like this video, please do give it the thumbs up. Please do like the video. If you're looking for more rare perspectives on using your mind to shape your life, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, otherwise you don't get the videos. There's a comment section below. By using that comment section, by giving your feedback, by asking questions, all of this kind of thing, that way this conversation gets to continue. And until it does, keep on using your mind to shape your life.